नमस्कार, आदाब, सत श्री अकाल एंड कॉपी टू ऑल। मेरा नाम है मोहित आहूजा और इस शो का नाम है इन सिग्निफिकेंस। शुरुआत करने से पहले तहे दिल से शुक्रिया करना चाहता हूं आप सबका जो बहुत सारा प्यार दे रहे हो। ऑल दोज कमेंट्स दैट आर कमिंग, ऑल दोज इंस्टाग्राम स्टोरीज दैट यू आर शेयरिंग, दोज फेसबुक शेयर्स, दो यूट्यूब कमेंट्स, दो स्पॉटिफाई एंड एप्पल पॉडकास्ट रेटिंग्स, हर एक चीज से ना बहुत फर्क पड़ता है, बहुत ज्यादा मोटिवेशन मिलता है। और जब मोटिवेशन की बात हो, एक डिटर्मिनेशन की बात हो, तो कौन बेटर हो सकता है देन अ पर्सन हु has been serving the country, who has served the country for a lifetime. Who's our guest today? ये मेरे बहुत प्यारे दोस्त हैं, बड़े हैं मुझसे उम्र में, और इनकी जो कहानियां हैं वो सुनने को मिलती हैं हर बार, और हर बार रोंगटे खड़े हो जाते हैं। तो आज का एपिसोड बेहद स्पेशल है। I would like to, without further ado, I would like to welcome on the show ब्रिगेडियर अजय मुखर्जी, हु इज नाउ रिटायर्ड। पहले कोशिश करी हमने बहुत ज्यादा इनको अपने पॉडकास्ट पे लाने की, बट ही वाज सर्विंग दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम, बट फाइनली ही इज हियर। सर, हाउ आर यू?
Hi, Mohit. I mean, so nice to, connect with you, but this is pretty unique to connect via this Zoom thing and all. Earlier, we have always spoken face to face. Now it becomes, you have given a touch of officiality into it. So it feels different, but it's always a pleasure
हाउ हैव यू बीन?
talking to
कैसा
you.
चल रहा है सब?
Awesome. Life is
हाउ इज द
awesome.
रिटायरमेंट
Enjoying
लाइफ?
myself. Yeah. I am enjoying myself, honestly. I got a lot of time in my hands, so I can now invest time in the things which I earlier thought that into my hobbies, into the other things. So yeah, I am truly enjoying myself.
क्या बात है सर! 30 years, more than 30 years you've served in
33,
two
33,
para
तीन
SF,
साल और मत
33
वापस कर
years
लीजिए.
33 years in two para SF special forces. क्या
Not
इतने
pura because
सारे?
you are in a special forces unit up to the level of colonel. उसके बाद
ओके,
में then you go into other streams. So
ओके।
yeah, I mean, in and out, always been in touch with the SF,
कितने
one
सारे
way or the other.
किस्से होंगे ना आपके पास, कितनी सारी कहानियां होंगी। मतलब आई एम ऑलरेडी एक्साइटेड अबाउट व्हाट ऑल वी कैन टॉक अबाउट टुडे, एंड देन what you're doing now, the design thinking aspect. I'm sure a lot of people would want to know what design thinking means, उस सब में जाएंगे। लेकिन उससे पहले बहुत सारी चीजें हैं जो मैं आपसे पूछना चाहता हूँ, बहुत सारी चीजें अबाउट योर एनकाउंटर्स, द लाइफ इन द आर्मी। क्या क्या मजे करे हैं, क्या मजाक करा है, रैगिंग कैसी होती है यार आर्मी में जब स्टूडेंट्स होते हैं, कैडेट्स होते हैं, हाउ इज ऑल ऑफ दैट? सो शैल वी स्टार्ट?
Of course,
लेकिन
time is yours.
स्टूडियो में चलें, थोड़ा मजा आएगा। आपसे ना सामने बैठ के बात करने का मजा कुछ और है। तो
Exactly, वही तो मैं बोल रहा था. I mean, face to face is always better rather than this through the wire media of electronics.
क्या बात है! अब आपके सामने आना, थोड़ा सा प्रेजेंटेबल भी बनना पड़ेगा, तो मैं तैयार होके आता हूँ, आप भी तैयार हो जाओ। एंड
मैं भी चेंज कर लेता हूँ.
वी हैव
Yeah,
2 minutes, लेट्स क्विकली गेट इनटू इट, गेट इन द स्टूडियो, एंड फिर मैं बहुत सारे सवाल लेके आ रहा हूँ आपके लिए। करें?
waiting for you. Absolutely waiting for
लेट्स
you.
लेट्स गो फॉर इट।
Let's go for it.
Insignificance with Mohit Ahuja.
Rolling.
So you're
So
asking.
how has the journey been from, just think about it, 91 is when you started off.
Yeah. So it has been fantastic. It's a dream come true to actually live a life like this in the army. I had virtually a civilian upbringing because I lost my dad when I was very young, and so living in Calcutta, it was a joint family, and the strength of the joint family actually helped me in a great extent to reach where I reached now. So I got a younger sister that, I mean, she's 6 years younger to me. So it was a big challenge for my mother to bring up both of us with a meager.
Sorry to intervene,
Yeah.
but basically you were 8.5 when
Correct.
your dad passed away.
Yeah.
So your sister was just 2
3
years old.
yeah,
3 years
two and a
old.
half.
Okay.
And so my mom was very young, very, very young. She was, my dad died at the age of 33. Wow. And so my mom was about hardly less than 30 actually.
Yeah.
But we used to stay in our Nana's place.
Okay.
And Nana ji continued to work. He is British era gentleman working earlier in a government thing. So he used to be known as a Hitler.
Acha.
And big disciplinarian, and the whole area used to be very scared of him. And he had principles. So I guess that also helped me in negotiating the challenges in life with full discipline and all. And at the end of the day, the discipline is the main thing that actually helps you overcome any problem. Motivation and all fails motivation and all are short-term, tools.
Okay.
It's the discipline that actually carries you forward. Okay. So then, growing up, I used to play. Luckily, that kept me physically fit. I used to play football, unlike all bongs. Okay. I guess.
Bengali log artists bhi अच्छे होते हैं.
Yeah,
It's not
artists,
just football.
Exactly. So, if you're good in one, you lose the other. So I'm a black sheep in the family, from the musical angle, if you may say. So my mother can
Acha.
play 3 to 4 instruments. She's a very good singer. So is my Mosi and everybody. And I'm absolutely a black sheep in the family as far as musical skills are concerned.
Okay.
So I grew up like that, and Dad was in Air Force, but that was a memory of an Air Force. 8.5 years old. Then after that, you being brought up in a completely civil environment. So there was nothing linking me to the
The
forces.
armed forces, yeah.
But in the back of your mind, deep inside somewhere, and because of the playing and everything, I always wanted to lead a little bit more with more adventure, something different. Because those days, it was all like you graduate with PCM, thing, and then either you become an engineer or a doctor, or the streams were very, very straight-jacketed approach towards life. So I was also a physics honor student. The only difference was that during my time, the electronics and computer science as a subject got introduced. So that was the only difference. I was a physics honors, electronics and mathematics student.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds very funny. And then I joined army.
No, it doesn't. I'll be very honest. I was a commerce student. So apni to औकात के बाहर है.
No, there is nothing to aukat. I sometimes have to pinch myself. Did I really actually graduate through that? Presently, I don't know anything about. I actually have forgotten everything. I sometimes actually struggle. Oh, calculus, what was it? Acha, okay. Thermodynamics, what was it? Oh, okay. Quantum physics. Yes, I've studied that. Quantum physics. I used to like that. Oh, what is it? I actually now have to Google and to refresh my mind and all.
And then there are, I'm sorry, but then there are people like me who think of, like, if I just go by the same chronology, that chronology काफी dangerous word है आजकल. वैसे आजकल जो हवा चली है उसमें use करने के लिए. But we are not talking about politics here. So just when you mentioned these words, and सिर्फ जो एक mentality का difference बोल सकता हूँ या approach different है वो बोल सकता हूँ, is that when you said calculus, in my head I'm like बच गया. You're thinking what was it? I'm like बच गया. So I'm sure there, and I hope there are a lot of art and commerce students listening to this, ex-students, present students, I don't know. And they might be thinking, यार thermodynamics क्यों पढ़ना है?
You're right.
But आपके केस में तो you tell me.
We had to clear the graduation, and I will be very honest. I owe my graduation in physics honors part and mathematics are due to my friends.
Okay.
I was playing at that time. I was actually, to get the physics honors itself in a university, Calcutta University, in one of the colleges, is a story in itself.
Okay.
I had initially, got quite influenced by this Indiana Jones series, and I wanted to become an anthropologist or this similar stream. So Jadavpur University is one of the good universities. So that time we used to have a concept called sports quota. Okay. So since I was a player, so I wanted to actually apply for that stream. So I went to Jadavpur University. I gave the trials. So I was told that, okay, fine, you will get selected in the graduation thing. So I didn't apply for any other college. Okay. And Jadavpur University is a big deal to get through Jadavpur University. As luck would have it, at the last moment, I came to know they scrapped the sports quota that year because of some problem. And here I was sitting high and dry. I was so confident that I'll be selected in that college. I didn't apply anyway. Okay, so then I didn't know what to do. Of course, people would take me. Any college would have taken me, but those are not that great name. Very frankly, I did get a lot of offers because of my football. Okay, and so our family doctor, when he came to know, so one of his patient was a professor from one of the colleges, a good college.
Okay.
So he then requested her. She met me. She says, "Okay, let me take you to the head of the department." So, what do you want to study? I said, "I want to study physics honors." So it's not an ego. I still love physics. I mean, I was not good at anything. I don't know C about chemistry. I can tell you that. Okay. Biology I used to hate with the bottom of my heart. Okay. So I had the interview. So he asked me, "You want to play? You want physics honors?" And so the marks were actually sufficient enough to give me that. But Calcutta University, it's a big deal. Then he said that he knew that that I play. So the certificates actually I had taken for the interview was all my football certificates. That I played nationals, I play for the clubs. I was already playing in Calcutta League club. So he said, "Okay, promise me one thing, that you will play for the club. I will give you this, but you will play for the college."
Okay.
I said, "Of course, definitely." I got admission. Then physics honors hit me. It was like a doink, a horse's kick in your backside.
Yeah.
Out of 20 hours, it's 20, out of 24 hours, 20 hours you have to be buried inside your books to clear that. And that was the last I played football for the college. Just for the college itself. I couldn't play.
But once you joined the armed forces...
So, yeah, I played. That had also had a story because sports is a very, very integral part of the physical fitness regime and the... So, and I am an Indian Military Academy. So, we have, if you excel in a particular sport, so you get a blue. So, one particular thing is known as a blue in this sports. That means you are really good in it. So, I was blue in football.
Okay.
But later on, it doesn't make any this thing. It's just pumps your ego a bit in the academy. Oh, you're the blue in this and blue in that. And so that was it. That was the football. So I thereafter actually played in my unit and I was selected for services, but then I didn't go because otherwise I would have actually moved away from the mainstream, service career. And so I basically I was a OGC, means ordinary. So cadets in Indian Military Academy are called gentlemen cadets. So it is not only gentlemen. So not only cadet. You are expected as an officer to be a gentleman first. So that is why all the cadets in the Indian Military Academy are known as gentlemen cadets. Okay. So it's GC. So I was a OGC, means ordinary gentleman cadet. So growing up at that...
What is the difference between an OGC and a GC?
No, OGC is basically, otherwise people get appointments and all, various appointments because it's a group. So you create appointments from the cadets itself to manage them. Okay. So, you would have done NCC or something like that. The people who wear various stripes.
Yeah.
So, Lance Corporal, Sergeant and things like that.
Like if I have to break it down even further, how a school would have a head boy and a head girl and a prefect.
Exactly.
That.
It's something like that.
Okay.
So, I was a normal. Because kind of I had become a total civilian. Of course, I was a civilian. So, I didn't even know that, what are the various branches of the army when I actually joined the army. Okay. So, when I was passing out in the third term, now because of my technical background, everybody thought that I will be joining the technical arms or communication arms of the army. So, army has various branches. Okay. So, there are fighting pure combat branches like infantry, armored, mechanized infantry, the people who are actually fighting. Then there are combat support arms who actually enable these people to fight properly. Okay. Then there are support groups and there are administrative groups. Okay. So signals is our communication and cyber group branch, which deals with all our communication, cyber issues, and EW, electronic warfare issues. Okay. So electronic warfare itself in its own terms is a warfare. Actually now, before you come to a kinetic kind of a warfare, people will engage the enemy and try to defeat them by taking out their complete communication, your cyber and all. Because nowadays everything is integrated or interlinked
Technology,
in
yeah.
technology. So if you hit that, if you paralyze them, if you paralyze their economy, you paralyze their railway systems, everything can be hit. So if you do that, you've actually brought him down on his knees before even your kinetic fighting has started.
Okay.
So that is why the electronic warfare becomes very, very important, and cyber warfare becomes very important. Okay. So that stream was since I was an electronics background, they thought that okay, this is a nerd character, so he will go there. But since I had a football background, so I was balancing that with no, this guy is otherwise also good. ठीक है बंदा, football खेलता है, मार धाड़ कर लेता है. As a child, I was a boxer also.
Okay.
So my first the sports actually in which I first got some training or did some coaching was boxing, much before football. So that actually helped me. See, in any academy that you go into, it has its own inbuilt toughening things. And because you're an officer cadet, you're going to become an officer. So physical ragra patti
Okay.
is a part and parcel of the whole thing. Okay. And it is essential also. Okay. It's not ragging. I would say what happens in colleges, I would say it is a supreme form of ragging in physical format. And it is important. Why it is important is the toughness of a person is all about his attitude and his mind. Toughness is not physical. Okay. So they to bring everybody down to the common denominator, they have to break you physically. And then how do you perform after that? After when you brought down physically, how the mental faculty works is actually what is being taught or you should learn. That is the aim, to make you tough
Okay.
psychologically.
They're basically breaking your spirit.
Yes.
How do they do it? ऐसा क्या करते हैं? Because it's like the extremist, not really ragging, but the extreme form of breaking you down.
There are things that physically that is done in the sense that you are made to do something.
Okay.
Okay, that it's basically they teach you why mind over matter is the most important thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Like.
So in Dehradun, where where IMA is there,
Yeah.
in winter nights, you can, any night when you're standing outside, you can see Mussoorie, the lights of Mussoorie.
Yes.
So we have a session called Mussoorie Nights.
Okay.
Okay. So at night, after dinner and everything is done, so you stand with hands, touching hands, so that much apart, each guy. So there's a group which is formed. You are down into your undies.
Okay.
In cold.
Winter nights. Okay.
Winter nights. And you have a bucket of water in front of you.
Okay.
Okay. One guy will keep pouring that water on your head.
Okay.
Okay. And you're supposed to draw your heat from that Mussoorie lights that you see.
Wow. Okay.
So the challenge now is that everybody can do it. It's now we are a group of people from the same course, same batch. Nobody wants to be the first one to break. That nobody will shiver.
Okay.
Bite your lips down, bite your tongue, no matter what you do, you endure. And endure with your straight face. Because it's more, rather than showing it to anybody else, you first show it to yourself. Yes, I can do it.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be the weakling in your group.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
If you think it other way, like I've spoken to many people, so they think that it's a big thing. But if you're part of it, part of a group which is doing it, it's not a big thing. It's then you realize, end of the day, it's a mind that is the most important and powerful tool. If you can strengthen that, everything is possible. And in the army, when I joined the special forces, we have a thing called speed march.
Speed march.
Yeah.
Okay.
So speed march is basically running. But the funny part is that speed march is with 20 kgs of backpack. Sandbag. We create sometimes try to lift a 20 kg bag and see how heavy it is. It's very heavy.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. So the first time I did it, so when I actually volunteered and after I was lucky enough to get it from the academy. First time when I heard this thing called, okay, I have to go for speed march. So then they prepared my instructors, they prepared, we call it paplu.
Paplu.
Paplu. It's a sandbag.
Okay.
So sandbag is put inside a rucksack.
Okay.
And rucksack you have to carry. And you're in a full combat gear. That means those heavy
Pretty geared
boots.
up. Yeah.
That means you're carrying those days that SLR, which with the magazine and everything, it weighs nearly 4 kgs. You're wearing that combat uniform. Okay. So when I first wore that, I said, you guys got to be kidding me. I mean, how do you expect me to carry this 20 kg? And its distances at 20 kilometers, 40 kilometers, 20, 30, 40.
Kilometers.
Those days. Yeah, kilometers.
You're supposed to run
Yeah.
that long.
And you have to, for 20 kilometers, there are categories, excellent, good, bad, like that. So 20 kilometers, you have to do it in less than 2 hours. With
Okay.
that 20 kg backpack.
Okay.
Okay. So it sounds pretty funny or impossible in the beginning. I also thought the same thing. Believe me.
I think you
I
can
said-
read it on my
yeah,
face.
So
right
I said, you guys must be joking. So I also read it's speed march. So I actually started marching, taking long steps.
yeah.
So my probation officer was sitting in a jeep who was supposed to pace me, and he went ahead and he saw me doing like this. He stopped his vehicle and he came to me. He said, what the hell are you doing? I said, marching. It's written speed march. Then he says, oh, bloody idiot. You're supposed to run, otherwise you will never be able to make it in time. So when you convert that 20 kilometers in this, you're
2
supposed to
hours.
do each kilometer in 6 minutes or less.
Wow.
Okay. I said, what? You run with this? That backpack. So those days, our thing was not kind of a rucksack, that the padded rucksack that you get. It was just a, you would have seen that Second World War movies, that jute kind of a bag.
Yes.
It was like that. Okay, so we used to carry that. Sure enough, so I started running. Then the guy who was actually with me, he was showing me how to run, how to do this. So you basically put the weight, it must come up to your neck, and then you bend down and look down and keep running like that. So I was doing that. The funny part was, it was at night. We were in Lalgarh Jatta, and it was an open highway.
Okay.
So there was a truck which was going nearby. So the truck conductor, whoever is this, suddenly leans out. He sees this and he tells the driver, "Dik, कैदी जा रहा है, कैदी को लेके जा रहे हैं ऐसे करके." So in all that pain and everything, I also burst out laughing. So the body gives up in 5 kilometers. It starts paining. I mean, the blisters starts forming. The blisters are bursting. The skin is getting peeled off. The only way to go beyond that is just the mind over matter. You just think of the task and that thing, and not the body pain. And then when you finish it, the achievement of finishing it, the feeling thereafter, is like amazing. First thing it teaches you, everything is possible. It is just the mind over the body and the mind over everything else. So if you set your mind to it, if you set your mind to anything, you will be able to achieve it. It's all psychological. So the army in its various form in combat teaches you that one basic thing is that it's the mind over matter. So it teaches you how to deal with fear. So there is another test. Basically, you are thrown inside the water with your hand and feet tied in a swimming pool.
Yeah.
So if you have never done this, or you have never actually, if you are slightly, you have a water phobia or something, you will get scared. Okay. But in a swimming pool, if you calm your mind down,
You just
Okay.
float back up.
keep flipping, take a breath, go down into swimming pool. You will go down and then take a slight push, come up. While you're going down and coming up, exhale slowly through your mouth. When you surface, gasp, inhale, then you go down. It's again the mind. If you can control the mind, all your psychological things can be handled. So that's the most important thing that army teaches you.
So are there drills that they teach you on how to control the mind, or it is like just through?
No, it
doing
is
these-
taught. So it is taught in the sense that they tell you that these are the things that will happen.
Okay.
Okay.
So they prepare you for the worst in a way. Like they tell you that these are the challenges you will face.
Not in the real life, but these are the challenges at that time. Like we have another thing called jumping from 10-meter platform
Okay.
in swimming pool. Okay, 10-meter height. Now, as a kid, many of us have already done it.
Yes.
Because as a kid, the fear is not there. Okay, that for many things, the kids. I have also jumped in my school days
Yeah.
from 10-meter platform. Like all other kids are jumping, I am also jumping.
Yeah.
So in academy, this is one of the tests. So when you grow up, then something happens to we grow up, the mind grows up and it starts analyzing everything. What can go wrong?
Yeah.
And that brings in fear. Same kid who would have jumped from a 10-meter platform very easily as a kid now hesitates when he's grown up.
Yeah.
I'll give you another example of how this plays in mind. So in para jump, when the first time we go for a jump, the para basic course,
Yeah.
before you go for jump, there is a 16 days of total, 10 to 12 days, you go through a ground training.
Okay.
In the ground training, you are had nice and proper. It's a total physical thing. Okay. So they teach you each time when you drop, how to roll left, right and all, how to absorb the shock. Okay. Because when you touch down in a normal parachute, your rate of descent those days with those parachutes was approximately 14 feet per second. So it's virtually jumping from about 7 to 8 feet height. If you jump, the shock that you will get, it's same.
that much,
Yeah, it's the same. And there are many emergencies that can happen. And it's an unnatural thing to do. So the emergencies are most likely to become fatal. Okay. So now the funny part is, a lot of people asked me, how was your first jump? How was your first jump? First time when you jumped, the fear and all. You know, first and second jump, you don't feel anything, you don't know anything because so many things are drilled into you. And to made it as a muscle memory to do those things when you jump out and what to do, keep your body in a small position. And when the parachute count to 5 seconds, that how we count 5 seconds is we utter the word 1,000. So 1,000, 2,000. So when you're saying 1,000, it takes the gap between 1 to 2 seconds. Okay. So this is how we say that 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. By the time the parachute is opening. Okay.
Wow.
And then you get a jerk, the parachute, it's open. Then next, check parachute, so you're checking parachute. Look left and right, okay, look left and right. Okay, check your all equipment, also all good. Okay, how by the time you have done this, you would have already come down quite a bit. And now the land is coming up. So Jameen Nazdik, that has got to suck para position, tighten it, all those things. These drills are so much, pushed into you. It all a muscle memory. Mind is only working on that. It has no time to fear for that.
Yeah.
Okay, to get the fear. So first jump, second jump, third jump, no fear. Fourth jump, suddenly it becomes easy. Then you start thinking. The mind starts thinking. Mind thereafter starts analyzing what can go wrong. By fourth jump, your knees are shaking.
Okay.
By fifth jump, you are shitting or virtually shitting in your pants like, God, let me finish these 5 jumps somehow. Okay. So that is the funny part of fear. Fear comes from knowing something more. Or you can actually defeat the fear, how you take it. The more the awareness comes, the more you know about a thing, the more wrong things you know about it. That's what creates the fear. The more wrongly you analyze. And the way to break that is again knowing incorrectly how to defeat that. No paratrooper can ever say that he never has fear once he is jumping out. The fun is to enjoy that fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, to enjoy that fear. So that is also the thing that you learned actually in the military.
Plus, I think, and I'll give you where this connection is coming from. But I think that fear plays with you until you jump. Like once you've taken that jump,
Yeah.
क्योंकि उससे पहले आप calculate करते हो चीजें, but once you've done it, then you're like, okay, I know that.
उसके बाद भी होते हैं, बहुत कुछ चीजें होते हैं.
उसके बाद constantly वो चलता ही है, वो तो साथ साथ चलेगा, because the human mind plays with us in a format like that. And the reason I'm saying that is like when you're talking about this, and I'll come back to something you said when we started, is like when I personally like you already know the
yeah,
biker side of me,
yeah.
and I love doing road trips. When I go on solo road trips, you know, until that trip starts, there's 100 things in my head because I have old parents, I have a sister, I have
Yeah.
people who are dependent on me, I have people I'm dependent upon.
Correct.
And you know, leaving everything and being on the road for say 10 days, which could also become 20 if it's a bad time, it could also become 30. You might never come back also.
Absolutely.
All of that can happen. The
Yeah.
very first day you might just die on the road.
Absolutely.
You never know.
Absolutely.
तो
Absolutely.
वो start करने तक का हिचकिचाहट रहता है. And when you've started off, you start enjoying it. बीच में bits and pieces आते हैं. When you think about it, कि अरे ये है.
क्या
But
गलत हो
then-
सकता है?
हाँ, क्या गलत हो सकता
That is
है.
the thing. The whole
So
feel.
those things come. And going back into the conversation, just when we started, you said you were talking about your childhood and how you stressed upon the part of discipline.
Yes.
And then I think within a minute of saying that, you also said that यार मुझे adventure चाहिए था.
Yeah.
I want you to talk about this a bit and enlighten me and people who are listening that, you know, many times when we think about discipline, we think of monotony.
Okay.
You know, यार boring है. Like me, क्योंकि मेरे लिए जो discipline का definition है is where my dad says कि यार सुबह 4 बजे 5 बजे उठ के walk पे जाया कर. Because that's boring for me. I might go to the gym, I might go for a bike ride at 4 in the morning, and I know that that discipline, when it's suited to me, then and that is a thing that happens at
Yeah.
home many times कि तेरा bike ride है तो 4 बजे उठ जाएगा, हम उठाएंगे तो नहीं उठता है.
Yeah, correct.
And I'm sure if my dad listens to this, he will laugh at it. But at the same time, so people sometimes feel that discipline हो गया तो adventure नहीं होगा.
No,
Well,
I will tell you, I
feel that
think
there's also a link to this.
I get you. The moment most of us associate discipline in the form of strict regime based on time. Okay. Which is little difficult. It's not flexible. Or like typically, अच्छा फौजी है वो drill करेगा.
हाँ.
So somehow they mix the drill and discipline together. Okay. Discipline in its true term is different than that.
Okay.
Discipline is doing things correctly.
Okay.
Doing things right in a right way that saves life. Okay. Discipline also will teach you the fine difference between foolishness and bravado, or bravado and foolhardiness. There's a hairline difference. Okay. Discipline also helps you prepare properly. Any activity, even for the bike that you're biking, which you're going.
Yeah.
What about the preparation before that?
Yes.
What about the preparation? The bike has gone through all the checks and balances for its all parts, some functionality and everything.
Yeah.
What about the spares that you have to carry? What about the planning the route properly?
Yeah.
Okay. What about your own physical self? Have you built your physical capability enough to be able to ride for 10 days, like 300, 400 kilometers every day sitting on the bike? Have you got that core muscles duly tuned in? Not anybody suddenly waking up and suddenly tomorrow he decides to go for a 10-day bike ride. I don't think he will be able to do it. It requires a different, a body, makeup, the mental makeup and all. Even that preparation itself, if you do it diligently, that is discipline. Everybody talks about this. Motivation takes you just a little bit. Okay, motivation is every New Year, 31st December, you make those whole lot of these resolutions and you are solidly motivated. First day gym, second day gym, third day gym, fourth day the muscle pains, fifth day it's over. Discipline takes you.
और चीज मुझे इससे याद आई and it's not about discipline and it's not about motivation. It is a disconnect I've had with the people of my country. And not trying to offend anyone or create a controversy here. हो जाए तो हो जाए,
Yeah.
कर लेना, हमें पॉपुलर कर देना, हमारे फॉलोइंग बढ़ जाएगी, कोई बात नहीं. लेकिन मैंने ना जैसे बहुत I'm sorry, I'm just going little random here, but बहुत बार ना जैसे हम बाइक राइड की बात कर रहे हैं और डिसिप्लिन की और आपने डेट मेंशन करा ना, तो one of the martyrs, a soldier, I don't remember his name, I'm sorry for that, but उन्होंने कुछ ऐसा लिखा हुआ था अपने व्हाट्सएप स्टेटस पे जो मुझे it registered with me and how people do bike rides and these rallies on a 15th August or a 26th January. So उनका वो लिखा हुआ था कि कल फिर तिरंगे में लिपट कर अलमारी में सो जाएगी, देशभक्ति है साहब तारीखों पे जागती है. और मुझे वो बात तो चुभ गई थी और मैंने कहा यार एक्चुअली में तो वो, मुझे पता है मैं बहुत ऑफ टॉपिक जा रहा हूँ फ्रॉम व्हाट वी वर डिस्कसिंग राइट नाउ, बट द लाइफस्टाइल दैट यू लिव इन द आर्मी, राइट, I think it's also that passion and that was your discipline of, you know, doing what you do. Like for us, it's an and going back to the question also, when you're talking about adventure and how we are looking at adventure in a separate light, and discipline की जो schooling हुई है was like you just changed that perspective for me right now. तो वो हर रोज doing that one job where you know that your life is at risk, है ना? How does that are people born with that? How
No.
does that come
all
through?
of us are born out of same mother's womb in similar kind of flesh and blood and same structures. Okay, environment plays a big factor, no doubt about it.
Okay.
How your parents are brought up also, because it's the formative years, your friend circle and how much adversity you faced while you're growing up, how much you have struggled, that definitely shapes you. Okay, environment is one of the biggest factor. School, definitely. So I always joke about school, and in my family, from my in-law side, there are a whole lot of big scholars are there. Okay. I never consider myself scholar. So I, even to my teachers also, I've mentioned this. The school cannot take any credit academic wise of where I am today.
Okay.
But what school taught me, which is the most invaluable lesson in life, is the life skills. Is the life skills. For my daughter's school also, I have a lot of argument with the teachers when I go there. Everybody is running towards the academic excellence. Okay. That academic excellence will not take you anywhere in life if you do not possess life skills to face the challenges of life. You cannot solve the life challenges with your calculus or thermodynamics or all these things. It doesn't work like that. I mean, I joke with my daughter and in front of my family. I said, my goodness, my daughter has gone to class 12th. Till date, she has not bunked school. I can't imagine that she will finish school and she has never bunked school. How is that possible? So they say, what kaisa baap hai yaar? So I discussed with Anika. I said, Anika, challenge is, you will bunk school. I will be hiding somewhere in my car. It is not that you have bunked left. The challenge is to go back before the school finishes.
Okay.
To go back, have the courage to go back and to explain your absence to what happened and come out without being scolded by the teacher. That is the challenge. Can you do it? Can you do it? But the environment has changed. Nowadays, the security, it's not the same the way it was. I agree to that. So, life skill for me, for any children now, is of paramount importance, which I think the present education system is not imparting correctly. It's not imparting. And I also see the challenges of the teacher. I have a lot of argument with the teacher. I said, your strength as a teacher doesn't lie as to how many first students, the best students that you have. If I ever rate a teacher, I will rate her. The last boy of that class, how far she or the teacher has brought that guy up. Because the first 10% of the class, the brilliant, they're self-motivated people, they're self-starters. They don't need the teacher. They will come first on their own. The teacher has got very limited role to play there. Because they had been taught somewhere else, some coaching, something. They're brilliant in their own mind. They don't need the teacher. But the teacher is desperately required by those backbenchers, the last 10%. But teacher totally neglects them because the teacher's capability is measured against how many students have scored how much marks.
Yeah.
So our whole approach to the problem is totally wrong. So those backbenchers will always remain a backbencher. And first students don't need the teacher. For all the good students. But I don't think we tackle the problem in this way. I mean, that's a major problem.
Do you think that gap in the education system from when you were in school to now, has it changed? Has it decreased?
No,
increased?
I would say that definitely now it is much more tougher than us in
Yeah.
our time. Okay, life for the students, the subjects have increased, and the complexity of the subjects. So much of subjects at very junior level has been cramped in.
Yeah.
The guy has no space.
Yeah.
The brain is only that much here. I mean, so I will be naive if I say that no, we were damn good in our time. No, I don't say that. The kids are having a tough time now. There is no doubt about it. But then simultaneously to toughen them up, the life skill is the most important thing which the school doesn't teach. There is no curriculum in any school and that is why these suicides happen. Because most of the kids are psychologically so weak. You have put so much of pressure in a wrong way that they have no other way to deal with it.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's my point of view. I mean, I strongly believe in that. So I tell my daughter, I'm never bothered about her marks. I say, I'm not bothered about your marks at all. I mean, enjoy life.
Yeah.
Everybody comes with some fate. Just, lage raho kisi ek cheez mein. You should focus. If you want something badly, you need to want something very, very badly. It's a question of how badly you want that.
Yeah.
If you really want that badly, you will yourself put in effort in that particular direction. So I generally tell her, want something badly. You should be really, really asking for it. The rest, everything will fall into place.
अच्छा, जहाँ पे भी आर्मी वालों के साथ कॉन्वर्सेशन की बात आती है, पॉडकास्ट की बात आती है, या आई एम श्योर व्हेन आई इवन अनाउंस, जब भी एपिसोड का पहला झलक मिलेगा लोगों को, एंड व्हेन पीपल वुड हैव हर्ड अबाउट दिस एंड हूएवर इज लिसनिंग टू इट नाउ, मेनी टाइम्स पीपल थिंक अरे आर्मी वाले हैं, कुछ तो एनकाउंटर की कहानी आएगी कुछ तो and I'm sure I know one encounter which I remember like anything. The very first one, you were 21 then, right?
No. I was 26, I think.
26, Bashir Afghani.
Bashir Afghani. Yeah.
वो एक कहानी है जो मैंने सुनी है.
Yeah.
Can you
Okay. So ऐसा था कि that was my first tenure in Valley.
Okay.
And in between, what has happened was that in the unit, I was not having such a great time. I was kind of a black-eyed boy of my commanding officer at that time. There's something happened, and I was actually sent on leave. Chutti jao, freshen up and come back.
Okay.
So when I came back, so I was given a particular team to lead, a company to lead. And it was a different company earlier, my previous company. It was a different company. Was given to me. So when I went there, and South Kashmir, Shupia, so there was this guy who was very famous, Hizbul Mujahideen militant called Bashir Afghani. He was holding quite a respectable or feared hierarchy amongst the Hizbul Mujahideen of those days. He used to take out the hit order. Okay, and he will instruct the cadre to whom to hit, whom to kill, whom to maim, whom to shoot, how it has to be done. He was very, very, his instructions were very much in detail, that after when we got the diaries and all, down to the, minute that okay, this person, let's say he's want to give out a warning to somebody. So, पैर में गोली मारना है, थाई में गोली मारना है, थाई में गोली ऐसे जगह पे मारना है कि आपको मालूम चले कि जो गोली जो है वो बोन तोड़ते हुए जाए. It's down to that detail he used to give these instructions. And he never used to trust any other Kashmiri. He always used to roam around alone. In the sense he will never have, generally the militants always, those days I'm talking about 95, 96. So that time, the militants were roaming around in groups. Okay. But this guy would never keep another militant with him. He will go, he will tell them to come and meet him, he will pass his instructions, then he'll carry on. So I had a physical instructor, and he was the prime target of everybody. So I was also given the target. Now, because being from paras and SF, so we are given some specific high-risk tasks. So this task also automatically landed on my thing. So I put in a lot of effort to actually get his any intelligence on him. It was month of I think it was winters. Lot of snow those days. South Kashmir now the weather pattern has changed, but that time the snow in South Kashmir is to start from October.
Okay.
The first snow, then there are the gap, then there are the heavy snows. It is to come. So Shupiyan, Sadao are foothills of Pir Panjal. Okay, it gets a lot of snow. Before this, for months end, I used to be out almost every night wading through like chest deep, thigh deep snow at night. Hitting targets one after another. I knew which all places he used to go blindly. When there is no intelligence, specific intelligence. So I used to take it totally with bull power. Keep raiding, keep searching at night, various houses, stay outside. End of the day, if you will stay inside your camp, you're not going to get any encounter. So you got to be outside. And being from the SF, we used to operate differently. We operate in very small teams, very, very small teams. So in a particular time, it snowed heavily continuously for 3 days.
Okay.
All the road access and everything was blocked off. As it is, those days the roads were very narrow. It was the road conditions were very bad. So I was in Shupiyan proper. That was my post, the military post that I was. And there was a village called Sadao, which was approximately 10 kilometers if you take the winding roads and all. So 10 kilometers away. And so I knew that he is somewhere in Sadao. One of my sources say that कि साहब वो सदाओ में देखा गया है and the general area इसमें है. So Sadao has got village. Where the Kashmiris stay in a very close cluster houses, and there are dhoks also. So dhok is a kind of a small structure where the animal and people stay together.
Achha,
Okay, so these dhoks are very, very, they are constructed separately from each other. So the Gujars and Bakarwals, they stay like that.
Okay.
And they don't form a very close community like that. So their dhoks are very, very spread out. जिसकी इस जगह पे है dhoks है वहीं पर कहीं दिखा गया. So by afternoon that guy had come. So I planned that operation. Okay, jana hai, every night has to be out. But we wanted to go in covert, in civil dress. So that, basically to close down as close as possible before they detect us. So there were 8 of us. I took 8 of us and in civil dress. Wearing exactly the way the Kashmiris. So that means that low-cut plastic boots, Firan. To walk in that plastic boots in snow, it's a Herculean task in itself, and especially when there's a waist deep of snow. So we started at 5 o'clock, and I actually put a platoon strength on standby, which will be like 1.5 hours behind me. They will walk there. So in case we get stuck somewhere, and some kind of, 8 guys have very less strength. So if something happens, at least these guys, I can call them to come for support. So we were walking, not through the road access, but cross country and through the snow. So we were like slipping, falling, walking like that. So after some time, my radio operator, he fell because while we were actually negotiating a nala. So he fell and he twisted his ankle badly.
Okay.
He can't walk. So I put 2 guys with him. So I radioed back to the platoon. I said, this is the location. There are 3 guys over here. 1 guy is injured. The radio operator is injured. I'm leaving 2 guys with him for his protection. You should come here and take care of him. And I didn't want to lose time. So now we have 5 of us, me and 4 other guys. We pressed on. So we reached the Sadao area. 5 o'clock we had started. Sometime around 9:30, I reached that general area Sadao at night. So we climbed a particular spur line and we were moving in the line of the dhoks. There were a couple of dhoks in that line. So I started moving towards the Sadao. And it was already pitch dark night, 9:30, quarter to 10, absolutely dark. Then I saw that I could see some flakes of, that when you create an angar and there are light flakes which comes out. So that was coming out from a particular dhok outside. I said, they must be cooking or something. But why is it outside? Those days, our night vision sights were not of good quality. Technology used to be very primitive. So I kept looking at it, and we closed in a little bit. And then with the binocular works very nice at night, and especially in snow condition because of the ambient light.
Yeah.
It really it works very nicely. Then I saw one guy standing outside the dhok with a kangdi, so that he was blowing into the kangdi, so that flakes were coming out. Kangdi, I'm sure you're aware that earthen pot they carry inside their dress.
छोटी सी अंगीठी जैसी होती है
अंगीठी जैसी
basically,
होती है,
जिसमें
छोटी सी
वो-
personal. So they carry it inside their firan. It heats up that area. Okay. So he was there. So I said probably somebody must to come outside the dhok to relieve himself. Okay. So we stopped. And then 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute, the bugger is not going inside. And he's not moving also. What's the matter? Why is he doing this? So these are, we call it battle indicators.
Yeah.
Okay. So that means he's guarding something.
Yeah. What
At
is he
night,
guarding?
at this particular weather condition when there is nobody, what is he guarding? What is he playing sentry to?
Yeah.
Must be something very important inside. Now there were 5 of us. So I sent 4 guys. So we generally, when we actually surround a particular house, we go by the hour thing, like 8 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock. The 4
Positions
o'clock and
जो
the
हैं
8
हम
o'clock.
घड़ी के
So you,
हिसाब से,
yes,
yeah.
so you block off everything. So we were still about 200 meters away from that dhok. So I sent these guys out. So it was an automatic drill. So they will now take a longish approach and come from behind, and they will surround it. And meanwhile, I will start moving in, and we will converge and close into the house simultaneously. So I give them a time. I said, I'm giving you 15 minutes extra time. After 15 minutes, I will start walking. I was alone at that time. So I had said, even if he looks at me, army never moves around alone. Okay, so I will not raise any suspicion. And I थोड़ा सा drama करने के लिए I started limping a bit.
Okay.
Okay, just a drama. So after 15 minutes, I started walking. So now we actually came on a track, the snow track where the villagers were taking. So the dhok was onto the right of, about 15 feet right of the track. The track was going straight into the village. So I kept walking, and he kept looking at me. I also kept looking at him. So when I approached slightly closer, he also saw a single man. I was wearing a firan, and so he didn't. No suspicion was raised. So I just waved at him. Hey, kya shukaran? How are you? Ware? I mean, you're okay. A very limited vocabulary that I had those days. So when he didn't do, I turned inside towards him, thinking that I will not raise any alarm. So he still waited for some time.
Okay.
And suddenly he darted inside. His action of darting, either he would have moved slowly, but he ran inside. The moment he ran inside, I said, my goodness, now it is something is going to happen.
कुछ
So I
है.
immediately picked up my firan. So our AKs, at that time we were carrying AKs only, because we were also representing we were moving around like militants. So we were carrying AK. So I immediately freed my AK because it was on my right shoulder,
Okay.
slinged in a manner that it is onto the side. So I freed my weapon, but my weapon was still down. And I took out my torch on my left hand. Now the problem is I still don't know whether it's a militant or a civilian who's there. That was my biggest challenge, and that is the challenge this thing happens. Then suddenly I saw one guy came running out.
Okay.
He matched the description of Bashir Afghani. He was not very tall, slightly shorter than me, sturdy, with a small face, and he used to wear white camouflage overall,
Okay.
the jacket,
Okay.
with the hood on. So he was wearing white jacket. He had a smallish kind of a face. I could barely see, and he had a beard. And then I noticed he had a weapon in his hand and his pouch, the magazine pouch, in his the other hand. So he didn't actually get time to wear it probably. So he was also dashing out of the thing. And we came almost face to face. The gap was like hardly 10 feet. So his weapon down, his pouch down, my weapon down. I had a torch in my hand. So we both look at each other. And I recognized, obviously, there's a weapon. He recognized I got a weapon. But by the time the weapon was already in my right hand. Now it was like, who reacts first? So I dropped the torch. He was also raising his weapon. I was also raising my weapon. But of course, better trained. I raised it much faster. I fired double tap, 2 shots. Both hit him. One is in the neck. So AK in a short distance is a very, very powerful weapon. Okay. It virtually lifted him and he fell backwards.
Okay.
The moment he fell backwards, I ran and jumped on his back. I said, I don't know where it has hit him, whether he's going to fire back at me and all. So okay, which side is heart? Now he's lying face down. Okay, left. Okay, my left. So I pumped in 2 more bullets onto his heart. Then I jumped back. There was a couple of wooden logs there. I ran and jumped behind the wooden log because I still don't know how many people are there inside.
Yeah.
I met only one guy. All this thing happened in just in a flash of a moment.
Yeah.
Okay. By this time, my guys had heard the fire. They also immediately closed in. And then I shouted at them. I was okay. I mean, one guy I know I have taken out. I don't know what is the inside.
Yeah.
So leave 2 guys from behind. Another 2, please come up. So the 2 guys who were blocking the exit route, they stayed there. The other 2 guys came to me. Then we called out the people from inside the house. So one by one as they come. So there is a drill how we do it. So we cover them. We say, don't be scared. Raise your hand. Show that you should not be wearing a firan. We should be able to clearly see that and feel that, okay, you're not carrying a weapon, and approach us. So one by one, everybody, the complete household guys. So there was 2 guys, 1 lady and a kid. And they all came out. I said, daro mat. So they
Family
came out.
thi basically.
Family thi.
They were like taken hostage.
Kind of. Because wherever he used to enter, he will. So then I said, kaun hai? He said, ye Bashir Afghani hai.
Okay.
Okay. That's the time the realization hit me.
हाँ.
Okay.
This is the person you've just.
और कौन है? नहीं साहब, और कोई नहीं है. ऐसे तू पक्का झूठ तो नहीं बोल रहा तू? किसी का डर से? बोलता है नहीं साहब. So we have another drill. Then the search happens. Those guys the one platoon which was still far away, 1 hour behind me. So then I called them up. I said, come now. So they took quite a bit of time to come there. Finally, when everything, we sanitized that area, we searched that house, everything, we satisfied ourselves, there's nobody. That is the time I took a proper look at that guy, the famous Bashir Afghani. This whole operation finished by about 10:30, 11 at night. The biggest challenge was after that, to carry that body back to Shupia. Because those days, the killing of the militant doesn't end the story there. The body has to be handed over to the police.
Okay.
That body was carried by us again through that snow. We reached back next day morning 6 o'clock. The whole night I was out. And then, so next day I crashed out, of course. There was so much of adrenaline pumping and everything happening. So when I went, I reached back my base and I slept off. Yeah, then 5 minutes, the word spread everywhere, and then calls after calls. After those days, there was no telephone. It was always on radio. And the radio, I had to get out of my bed and move to that. And so that was my first encounter. The
At
Bashir.
the age of 26.
Yeah.
So what goes on in a person's mind before and during the encounter? Obviously, it's
No time
too much
to
of the
think.
process. You
Yeah,
don't have
it's a
time
process.
to think.
It's a process.
But afterwards, because I'm sure a lot of people, would have asked you that,
Yeah.
taking a life.
I'll tell you something.
Yeah.
All those things that are shown in the movie is all bullshit.
Okay.
It's not only me. I have had many encounters. My personal experience. And the people actually, I've seen many of my youngsters actually eliminating terrorists and all. Nothing happens.
Okay.
Nothing. I mean, I never faced anything. There was no guilt in I was very clear. That guy picked up arms against my country. He is killing my people. He has no place on earth. He's got no place on earth. It's just that he chose to leave through my action. He has no place on earth. If you pick up arms against the country, you are at fault. In the democracy, our country is democracy. There are set pattern ways of dealing with it. You deal with it. You cannot threaten people, threaten the country, secessionist movement. You want to take Kashmir away. I grew up in Kashmir. I studied in Kashmir. I consider Kashmir as my second home. Till date, Kashmiris, I mean, a dear friend of mine. I got lot of young friends over there. और ये जो आधे टाइप में कश्मीर बोलते हैं ना जी आज़ादी आज़ादी, leave them on their own, tell them you want आज़ादी. Nobody wants it. Everybody in their own, when you're speaking to them alone, everybody wants to be part of India right from the beginning. I'll give you one story. When the peak militancy was going on, we used to have a system wherein to take feedback from the crowd. So whenever from my post a bus used to go, so we obviously they have to be searched. Okay, I created a tent. It was a general practice at that time. Every person will go through at that tent.
Okay.
And there is a kind of a feedback box used to be there.
Okay.
So if you have written something somewhere and there was a pad and a pencil, and everybody has to spend about 15 seconds inside the tent, and nobody from outside will come to know what is happening.
Okay.
You had the complete freedom to write whatever you want. No names required. You would have put that something in that box. Because after my post, there are a number of villages. I don't know if you belong to which village. In my time, all feedbacks, all purchase that I got, not a single one of them stated anything against the country. And I'm not joking, I'm not lying.
Okay.
And I used to get purchase says that ये पाकिस्तान ने create है, पाकिस्तान को जंग करके खत्म करो. जब तक पाकिस्तान को खत्म नहीं करोगे तब तक ये problem नहीं हो जाएगा. And so, you know, Kashmiris, the rest of the tourists and all those things, the Patra, Vatra, these are all business militancies, and I always say that as a business of Pakistan. It's got nothing to do with jihad, it has got nothing to do with anything. It's pure business. There's money involved. Now, what better example than this, which tells you all Kashmiris are Indians and they are heart and soul Indians. That fight, that, you know, yes, there are many things. Sometimes the people with power, they do some things which are wrong under pressure. But so what's happened in Bengal in the Naxalite movement?
Yeah.
Everywhere it happens. Everywhere, every society, every democracy society, people will rise, people will fight, people will... Part and parcel of life goes on after that. But never in my life, I spent number of years in Kashmir. Number of years. This is the prime example that tells you that they never wanted out of India. Otherwise, I would have got a lot of purchase because I don't know who's written it.
Yeah.
I never got a single purchase which was anti-India. Not a single one.
So is there fear among the people when it comes to the army? Are they friendly? क्योंकि मैंने last year लद्दाख गया था. And we went via the Srinagar Kashmir route. And just being there when you're crossing and you have a soldier standing every, I would say not, I think 100 meters or even less than that, 50 meters,
Yeah.
I think. मतलब एक से जहां तक आप देख रहे हो लाइन से आपको दिख जाएंगे soldiers every 30-50 meters they're standing. And लगता है कुछ हवा में tension है.
That is to protect the civilians.
हाँ.
Tension, it's not. So what you saw are basically road opening parties.
Okay.
Okay, so they picket. They actually put ROPs on both sides of the road, so the road remains clear. No militant from outside should come and fire and then go back, or throw a grenade and go back.
Okay.
That is called road opening. That's a part of a drill to secure that whole corridor. So on the road itself, you would find places more of CRPF people, BSF people, the paramilitary, and tucked in inside are the army. Earlier it was done by the army itself. So then the army people were there. Now it is all the police, the CRPF, the BSF, they do it. Armies are slightly tucked in. So Amarnath is a big issue, national issue.
Yeah.
The security, because I was in charge of the Amarnath security for at least 2 Amarnath Yatras. So the army deployment is purely to secure the people inside that who are going for Yatra. Yes, for a civilian who has never seen the army, it might be a little bit intimidating because of the weapon and all, but we got to understand these people are there to save you only.
Yeah. Yeah.
Primary role is that. So, and end of the day, the army, the soldiers they have also come from the same society. They have not come from anywhere else.
Yeah.
They have also come from the same society with the same mental makeup. In the army itself, they go through a second, complete indoctrination as far as doing the right things. There are codes. Regularly, they are briefed the rights and do's and don'ts and rights and wrongs. And army punishment is swift and hard. If one guy makes a mistake, there is no way out that he will be punished. And the punishment is very severe. We are not bothered about whether an FIR lodged or something is lodged and something is lost. Nothing. Army has its own way of dealing with it. And believe you me, it's very strict and very, very harsh punishment comes down. People make mistakes. I mean, I would not say the army doesn't make it. People, in the paper it is there. Army is the first one themselves who will punish them. Army themselves, they will not wait for the other ones. If the smallest of mistake is noticed, reported, they will be dealt with. That much of honesty is there. After all, this is the last bastion of the country. It cannot fault there.
Yeah.
So.
मस्ती कितनी होती है कैंप में ये बताओ.
Awesome.
Tell me about that.
मस्ती होती. Okay, I was in charge of
अगर
this.
किस्सा भी हो तो कोई
बहुत the jokes are like, the army comedies, amazing comedies are there.
Okay.
So, I will tell you one. Again, covert. So, one side the militants are coming, the other side the army people are coming. Both saw each other. Both stopped. Both couldn't recognize each other.
Okay.
This is कौन है? The Punjab guys from Pakistan. This is तू कौन है? They actually argued for quite some time. Then they realized this buggers are army, that buggers is militant. Okay, it took quite some time. Some dialogue happened. Both fired openly. Not a single scratch to anybody. So sometimes it's so bloody hilarious that the encounters that happens and stuff that happens. It's so masti in other sense, like when you actually have a very successful operation, when you come back, it's a great relief. So we operate for about 7-10 days out in the open. So when we go out for an operation, 7 to 10 days we stay in the jungle, totally hidden.
You're talking about the special forces.
Yeah. Okay. So our ambushes or our things we operate for. So all those times in the 7 to 8 days, we are like virtually whispering. We can't even speak loud.
Okay.
When we get back, each one is encouraged to shout and talk loudly.
Okay.
Talk loudly. Then we have our informal get-togethers. Okay. So we in 2-para, one of our CEO, Deepak Sinha, he had actually had a mechanism instituted that once in 2 months, he will call all the company commanders. So his aim was, you get every company, and all officers.
All the commanding officers.
Yeah, no, not commanding officers, company commanders. And all officers,
commanders,
basically,
okay,
from various posts.
Okay.
And obviously, it has to be daytime. That particular time, couple of hours, the posts are maintained by the JCOs. They are in charge. And no operation happening.
JCOs?
Sorry?
JCOs is for the
junior
people who are listening.
they are the senior rank from the soldier level that they rise.
Okay.
So it's Subedar, basically Subedar, Naib Subedar.
Okay.
Those are the guys. So they will manage the company, and nothing is happening at that time. So officers are called. Basically, it's kind of an R&R for us, rest and recover. So CEO used to ensure when you come that you get drunk first.
Okay.
He said, beer pilao, whatever this thing. And then the leg pulling starts. Okay. So you always find a common target in one of these gatherings, one of the officers, something he has done. And then you rip him apart like that with the comedy. And we are laugh. It's a brotherhood kind of a feeling. But an amazing amount of comedy that goes on at that particular time. So we are just letting go of the stress and strain of the operations. And you're always high strung in the operations and all. So I'll tell you another comedy of this. So we go for an operation. And so it was the one of the most key elements of militant that we were looking for. So I was sitting in, it was the operation of another company. They called me to beef up the strength, and they used to say that I'm encounter lucky. So we have a typical term in Valley at those days. There are certain officers who are encounter lucky.
Okay.
If you go there, Mukherjee sahab aaya na, pakka encounter hoga. ठीक है?
Okay.
And I used to get really pissed at that time because I was in Shupia, far away. To reach that from my company to that company location, it takes 2.5 hours those days.
Okay.
The operation has to be launched at say at about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock at night.
This is in the 90s.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to travel that 2.5 hours in winters, open Jeep. Those days, those Mahindra Jeeps didn't have doors or anything. Okay, in that winter. So that means I'm starting 2.5 hours before. I don't have any sleep. When I reach there, those buggers are sleeping. So I enter, I have to kick their ass. Everybody, get up now. No, sir, this is the good omen. That we have to receive you sleeping. It's a bastard. You don't have anything else to say. So anyway, we go for this operation. So the village that we had cordoned, nothing happening. The search started. And there was an outer cordon. So we have an outer cordon where the likely escape routes are there. Then there is an inner tighter cordon which is around us so that nobody can escape. We heard a firing onto the outer cordon. Suddenly our boys fired. I said, my goodness, either militant or I hope they have not shot anybody. So we had very, very strict code of conduct that no matter whom you see, you will first challenge. You will tell them to stop. They will raise their hand. You identify there is no weapon. There is no firing. First is always given an opportunity to surrender, even if you are a weapon. So that is a standard drill. We don't just open fire unless that guy is taking an action which is going to kill. Like the Bashir Afghani thing, which I was talking. So when I ran, me and my young officer was there from the Bravo company. We ran over there. So two of the guys were standing there. I said, what happened? Nahi malum sahab. Tere kaise fire hua? Fire hua. Then by the time the group gathered, I said, who bloody fired? Nobody is uttering a word.
Okay.
Okay. So then my squad who was there with me, they ran out. I said, jaake check karo. So they ran. So suddenly they shouted from there, Saab, body mil gaya. My heart sank. I said, bloody hell. They must have killed somebody there is no weapon. I said, weapon hai? Nahi saab, weapon nahi hai. You know, the sinking feeling is that time.
Civilian mara ya kuch hua.
Civilian. Ho gaya kaam aaj. And I could see those guys trembling in front of me. थोड़ी देर बाद में आता है साहब हथियार मिल गया. So that guy flung, probably when he fell, the weapon got flung into the jungle. He couldn't find it. So then I was running at that time. When these guys were with me, I was running to that area. Let me see who was it. Found the weapon. Thank God. Found the pouch. He also didn't wear the pouch. He was carrying some pouch. Then I found a bag. I opened the bag. I pulled out the bag, the diary. And also from the diary could make out. Then I conveyed it to my headquarters. It was written Alpha 2, Alpha 2, Alpha 2. He was a big target. Alpha 2 was the communication head of South Kashmir who was communicating. He used to take the reports from all the militants and then pass it to Srinagar and there to Pakistan.
Okay.
He was that big a guy.
Okay.
Now see the comedy. When these guys came and standing, साहब हमने फायर किया था, साहब मैंने फायर किया था, साहब मैंने फायर किया था. I immediately said, get up bloody stick right now. Get up, everybody bend over. And सूतो दे. Few minutes back,
कोई नहीं बोल रहा कि मैंने
nobody opened their bloody mouth. And suddenly now the success comes कि मैंने फायर किया था वहाँ पर. I said, nobody gets any credit for this. No one is going to claim credit for this. You guys are bloody, I will kill them, kill you all of you. I mean, little bit of reputation I had in the unit, so they knew that thing. But I'm telling you, this is such kind of comedy.
Actually, मारा किसने था?
नहीं, they saw this guy, so बाद में जब इसके what
जब डर लगा कि सिविलियन है तो वो कहते हैं हमने नहीं मारा, हम मुकर गए.
तब बोल रहा था कि साहब हमने हथियार देखा था पर हम श्योर नहीं थे. वो हथियार लेके भाग रहा था, हमने रोका भी, हमने बोला भी. जब वो नहीं सुना उसमें तभी हमने फायर किया था.
So it was all in a spur of a moment, and then suddenly when they were questioned, they did not really know what to say.
Yeah. So then we found his bedding. It was next to a nala. Then the antenna. So he had actually an antenna placed on top of the tree. Okay. The wire coming down, and his beddings and everything was there, and all his paraphernalia, everything was intact.
Wow.
So
quite a life.
The people otherwise, there are other guys who have done some real brave stuff, which is like amazing. And the militants were fool enough to get caught. One of the guy had a 2-inch mortar. 2-inch mortar is for a aerial, mortar that indirect fire. Okay, so he had a 2-inch mortar. He didn't have a weapon. He was also standing in out of corner. Suddenly 2 militants comes to him. They were running. He got stuck with them. He had his 2-inch mortar. He turned the 2-inch mortar towards them. हथियार फेंक के खड़ा हो जा नहीं तो मार दूंगा मैं, बड़ा तोप मारूंगा मैं. You cannot fire a 2-inch mortar like that.
But the militants don't know
They
that.
know. They drop their weapon and put their hands up. Presence of mind. So, such kind of comedy also happens. There are many such small incidents.
Wow, कितना मजा आता होगा ना कभी कभी बैठ के सोच के कि यार क्या क्या देख लिया, कितने सारे.
It's amazing. I mean, this one of the operations that we did in Sierra Leone, we did the hostage rescue. Till date, when I close my eyes, it seems like a Hollywood movie. It's absolutely stunning. It's a hair-raising experience when we were flown in. Now we have the Chinook helicopters, the twin rotor thing.
Yeah.
Those days, I'm talking about year 2000, we didn't have those choppers. We didn't have the capability, our choppers didn't have the capability to fly at night in bad weathers.
Yeah.
So we were inserted by the British Chinooks and we were operating with the British SAS. SAS is one of the famed special forces of the Britishers. I mean, the world famous actually.
Yeah.
We have already only heard stories and read about them. And to be able to operate with them and a successful mission and they appreciating our operation is a big thing. And that flying at treetop level, that is the contour flying we call it, the whole idea is that by the time you hear the chopper would have crossed you. You can't see the chopper because it's flying at virtually touching the tree heights.
Okay.
Tree level. Okay, so nap of the earth flying. So do it. So even when I close my eyes right now, I feel that sitting at the rear ramp and you see the silhouette of the second chopper following you, and the Chinook doesn't turn like this. Chinook flies like when we turn a bike totally inclined, Chinook also turns like that.
Yeah.
So it was amazing experience how we got inserted. We were inserted by slithering, basically slithering in the sense that even the helicopter cannot land, you drop a rope, you hang a rope, and you come down holding that rope by and braking by action of friction between the gloves and the rope. So you slither down into the target area. And dark night, it was raining, and then we had a great operation. We managed to pull out the complete Indian troops who were actually surrounded by the RUF. Then 28 kilometers of walk back, fighting the RUF had caught us up from behind. How we fired, I mean, our rocket launcher systems to stop them, then the IDs and blast. There was a lot of encounter behind. Thereafter, much later, our attack helicopters came because attack helicopters couldn't fly in the hours of darkness and in the bad weather. They came only when the weather opened up. But before that, we had the RUF had caught up with us when we were actually taking these guys out. They were the people who were actually besieged. I mean, yes, fantastic actions. And I actually lived a dream life.
चिनूक लेकिन होते बड़े खूबसूरत है यार देखने.
बहुत. It's a beautiful bird. It's a beautiful bird. Very, very, I mean, powerful.
Every Republic Day parade is when we obviously get to see it, but otherwise also whenever I've seen it, and मुझे लगता है all these war movies that we see, they're incomplete without the Chinooks and the jets. Jet aircraft.
ऐसा नहीं है. You see, the सबसे बड़ा problem to shoot a war movie or an action movie, and किस लिए एज ए सोल्जर हम बहुत फ्रस्ट्रेटेड हो जाते हैं जब हम वॉर मूवी देखते हैं, स्पेशली हमारे बॉलीवुड जो बनाता है. एंड आई अंडरस्टैंड कि इनका प्रॉब्लम क्या है. सी जब हम चलते हैं ना इन एक्शन, दो सोल्जर के बीच में जो गैप होता है, दैट हैज़ टू बी सफिशिएंट इनफ, ताकि अगर बीच में ग्रेनेड फटे या कोई फायर करे, दूसरा एक ग्रेनेड में 2-3 बंदों को नहीं लगना चाहिए.
ओके.
अब उस एक कैमरा फ्रेम के अंदर में अगर वो करना चाहे तो वो हर समय 1 या 2 ही सोल्जर दिखेगा ना उसको. आई डोंट नो, आई मीन आई थिंक दैट वी मेक war movies or action movies very poorly because of very poor understanding of the filmmakers about the true way. And somehow I don't like it simply because it sends a wrong message to the audience कि ऐसे भी हो जाता है करके. It doesn't happen like that. ऐसा ही होता है. So you are actually teaching wrong thing. You're telling the wrong things.
Yeah.
Not teaching, sorry. I mean, that you're actually conveying the wrong things.
Schooling है because people are consuming it.
Yeah. And लोगों को मालूम नहीं है. So तुम पूरा का पूरा earlier that the rule was there कि तुम सही uniform नहीं पहन सकते or whatever.
हाँ,
But
I
then
know.
उसका उस movie in the movie
Comedy
they
बन जाती
create
थी
a
वो.
total comedy out of that uniform.
I know.
So now the whole country, the people who don't understand, takes that as the real thing.
Yeah.
So he made cartoons out of all the
And
the
in fact,
characters.
I think that the bigger price was paid when the movies still have bigger budgets.
Yeah.
जब वो टीवी सीरीज पे ट्रांसलेट हुआ तो वो इतने जैसे वो स्कूल की यूनिफॉर्म बच्चे पहन के जाते थे ना कि बस काम चलाओ. पेरेंट्स इज लाइक यार सस्ती यूनिफॉर्म मिल रही है, कल फैंसी ड्रेस है, बस भेज दो बच्चा तैयार
I
करके.
agree with you.
इट यूज्ड टू बी जस्ट दैट. तो वो कुछ और ही हो गया था जब ट्रांसलेट होके बना.
Exactly, and I think that the film industry has a responsibility. End of the day, people formed their opinion. People are so gullible in our country. They think that is the correct thing. अगर तुमने किसी के नाम पे चला दिया एक मूवी नहीं है सच है वो है करके, no matter how badly you make that thing, but everything that is the way it is.
Yeah.
People get so influenced. Why? I mean, I have not seen the movie. I should not comment on a movie when otherwise it will hit the latest that Air Force thing, that movie which was happening. I just saw the trailer and I was really aghast as to how wrong things we show. Which is the fighter movie, huh? So fighter movie, I didn't see the movie. A disclaimer,
High
firstly.
That's
So
the
in-
book birds cover.
Yeah, in which I distinctly remember a particular scene in the trailer where the anti-aircraft missile was almost skimming and touching the aircraft, and the aircraft taking a loop, and the missile is just going close, very close to the thing. And it doesn't burst. People think, now what will people think? The people will think that the anti-aircraft missile knocks the aircraft out by directly hitting it. That's what it should.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work like that. An anti-aircraft missile, it bursts in close proximity of the aircraft, and the splinters it emits, that rips the aircraft, and that is how an aircraft gets hit. It is not a direct hit into the aircraft. Okay, it's a heat-seeking missile. It follows the aircraft by the heat it emits, and it goes to a proximity of that, and then it explodes
At a certain
gap,
distance,
and it explodes,
goes off.
and that splinter, that energy that splinters, it goes and hits the aircraft, and that is how an aircraft gets destroyed. Not by hitting a bullet by a bullet. Here, what I saw in the trailer again, it seems like the aircraft, taking a turn against the missile, and the missile is just passing through it. It doesn't happen like that. That is why you would have seen that the aircraft emits flares.
Yeah.
The flares are basically generates heat. It confuses the heat-seeking, the sensors of the missile, and it goes after one of the flares, and it explodes there.
Yeah.
So I saw that, so that my friends asked me about this, कि ये कैसे करके हुआ. I said, this is where I really feel it's sad that we are telling completely wrong thing to the audience, and so I really get frustrated.
हाँ, movies का ना, I think one of the things that this misrepresentation does is, and I think it's also certain amount of what people might call it creative freedom, is they're trying to evoke certain emotions. ऐसा कि मतलब बंदा थिएटर से निकले तो बंदूक पकड़ के सीधा बॉर्डर पे चला जाए.
Exactly.
बट वैसा हो नहीं सकता. अगर मैं आज बंदूक लेके बॉर्डर पे जाऊंगा तो खत्म 1 सेकंड में खत्म कर देगा.
अगर उसके बाद में तुम्हें
I have zero training.
उसके अंदर वेपन में जैम हो गया तो what will you do?
वो तो बहुत दूर की बात बता दी आपने.
मेरे साथ हुआ है ना, like a number of times we do have a weapon jam earlier when we were firing with and especially it happens when you are in a covert mode, when you're using one of the captured weapon system. Okay, बहुत बार हुआ है मेरे साथ में, आमने सामने हुआ है. So but then you're trained to immediately take out that roke. We call it roke. Okay, and then use that weapon. अगर तुमने training नहीं लिया है, so that is the last day. That is the last day.
That's the last you'll see of anything.
Yeah. So it's sad. I feel, my opinion.
Is there a Bollywood movie, since we've already come to the Bollywood topic, is there a Bollywood movie you think has come even minutely close to what happens on ground?
None.
None. Wow.
I would say that even that Uri movie, which is so called, and somehow a lot of things were shown
exaggerated and
Totally exaggerated. It didn't happen the way it was shown. Firstly, it didn't happen the way it was shown. Not at all. It doesn't. That militant keeps on firing at you hundreds of rounds and all. Nothing happens to you, but you fire once and they get killed. What nonsense is this? I mean, where is the logic here? Either you show that that guy is so hiding so well.
बीच में गाना भी घुसाते हैं सर हम बीच में.
That's another
बीच में
point.
गाना भी आता है. ऐसा नहीं है.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess the hero has to survive. That okay, यार चोट तो लगा दो यार.
साइड से कान बंद काट के निकल
थोड़े से काट कर लो, थोड़े से साइड हैंडल में गोली लग गया, थोड़ा उसका हैंडल ही कम हो गया. लव हैंडल्स तो he will appreciate that more. You know, so it's ridiculous, really ridiculous. It's sad. I mean, ridiculous to the extent that it becomes really sad. I mean, I feel it badly. So, but
आपको कार्टून लगते होंगे ना मूवी देख के. कार्टून मूवी चल रही है.
So my friends actually, don't analyze it like that. It is built for the masses. Long time back, if you remember, Gavaskar had made a statement. Long time back, when Gavaskar was playing at that time. Indian movies are made for the masses by the asses. Do you remember that? Have you ever heard this?
No. But I've heard the statement that don't follow the masses. The M is mostly silent.
No,
So
that
I
is
think
separate.
that might have come from here only.
Yeah, somebody must have created derivative out of it.
Yeah.
But this was a Gavaskar statement.
Okay.
Indian movies are made for the masses by the asses. And I totally believe it. Totally believe it. What a
Life
powerful
कैसे
statement.
बदली है from being in the army, being in the armed forces, serving for such a long time, 30 years,
30 years plus. More
30
than
years
30.
plus, right? So giving 3 decades to something, and then now the retirement life where you are.
I'm enjoying my
working on
retirement life.
design.
Firstly, I
thinking.
am thoroughly enjoying my retirement life.
क्या बदलता है?
See, right now, I would say that whatever experience that I gained, if I can actually give it back, and if I can help somebody with that thing, with my knowledge, with my experience. So we teach design thinking, and I also teach disruptive technology, disruptive innovation. And so I bring in the flavor of the military angle into it. And I find it very, very satisfying to do that, to actually, share my experience. And if not only this, but also, psychological build-up of people and, and management lessons.
Yeah.
See, one of the biggest thing that we learned in the army, because from the day one, we are made in charge of a group of people.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we are handling men under command. It's only the number of people kept on growing. I remember the moment I cleared my probation after coming out of academy. I was given a troop or a platoon at that time. Okay, so it was a 36, strength of 36 with ats and debts attached to it. And then we learn on the job
Yeah.
extensively to know each and every man under your command. So we had to have a standard joke from the seniors that until you know the color of the kacha of your jawan, you have not become a true leader.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. So for us, the management goes well beyond just the official engagement. See, army is like, I would say 24/7 into 365. Okay. There is no gap in between. It's your family. You are in it round the clock. Okay. There is nothing called office time and break time. So for a Jawan that we are handling, the soldier that we are handling, I need to know about him. I need to know about his family. That's why the officers' wives also get wedded into the army. They have a tremendous role to play in management of the families of the soldiers. Because the mental well-being of the soldier is a very, very important facet and how a soldier actually is going to behave. Okay. So all of us are involved 24/7. So we need to know about a man, how he thinks and what he's going to do under something, much more than he himself comes to know. That is the level of interaction or the relation that you need to develop with your with your men. So we learn a lot life lessons. Again, the life lesson as to how to handle men and their conflicts and their problems. Right from his children, medical problem, some other problem, marital problem. Even a bachelor young officer is handling the marital problem of a soldier's family.
Yeah.
Okay. So all these problems thrust upon the
Seniors.
officers.
Yeah.
But we get a lot of guidance from our seniors, and they always guide you to how to deal with the things, and you should be open enough and courageous enough to accept you don't know everything. Be open enough to ask advice when you don't know something, and advice is always there. Hence we learn, and of course army we have number of courses. So it's a misnomer. Earlier you would have heard that कि अच्छा army में join कर लो तो फिर पढ़ाई नहीं करनी पड़ेगी. Nothing can be more wrong than that. Nothing.
Okay.
Our padhai likhai system is the army is like killing. In civil, probably you will do it just for your own career progression a little
Roti.
bit. Roti. Yahan to bhaiya, your survival depends on ki how much study you carry out.
Okay.
You have to. There's a lot of studies involved. And provided you want to be good. If you don't want to study, that's a separate. Nobody is going to force you. I mean, you will fail in the exams. You will not do well in the courses. That's also a life.
You will also not rise up the ranks
Exactly.
in that case.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
So
you
it's-
want to do good in the army. You have to study. You have to study.
So tell me more about this design thinking. What exactly is design thinking and how does it work?
Yeah. So
And I'm asking about this from a civilian / layman
yeah. So how I got introduced to design
perspective.
thinking. Okay.
Yeah.
So in army and especially in special forces, our survival dependent on how innovative you are, how creative you are with your plans.
Okay.
Okay. I realized it pretty early in life. Simply to get out of your post undetected was a task in itself, because each post is somewhere connected to the village. There is somebody or the other is always observing. So earlier what used to happen is the moment you get out of the village, your post, and as a whole group, the radio message will go to the militants. Okay, army यहाँ से निकली है, इस direction में जा रहा है, तो जितने भी militant उस जगह पे है, they will get to know and they will vanish. So every day is has to be a challenge as to how to get out undetected and to be able to go for an operation. Then the other problem is if you go for an operation, there is one single road which is going to that operational area, whether to come back from the same road or not, because if you're coming back from the same road, you're bound to get ambushed, you're bound to get an ID. Lot of people have died because of this silly mistakes. So each time you're innovating. And also a lot of problem solving that used to face day-to-day basis. So I used to always think at a problem, okay, this is the standard thing. How can I do it differently? That was always there. You are, after all, anti-militant operation is nothing but it's a mind game. So you are always thinking from the shoe of the militant. Had I been the militant, what would I have done? Okay, I used to always do that. That whenever I used to walk, okay, I'm taking this. I will first understand his characteristics. Where does he come from? I'll read about him. I'll ask question to the villagers, understand that guy. And then I will, throughout in my head, I will take, if I was the militant, what would I do? What would I do? And then I was to plan the operations. Okay, so it's always creativity and innovation that was happening. And also our weapon systems and all were not always, I would say, conducive to carry out a type of operation. So we used to have to modify our weapon system also in that. So this creativity and innovation was always there. I didn't have a structure for it. So this friend of mine who, when I used to go back home and I used to tell the stories and all, then they said, okay, have you heard the term called design thinking? Then they explained it to me. Then I read and learned and, did courses and all those things. Then I realized, my goodness, we were always doing it, but not in the same sequence. And I used to find that it's a fantastic tool by which you solve a problem very, very creatively. Okay. So design thinking is nothing but an investigation or a creative way of solving any problem.
Okay.
It also is beautiful in a manner that design thinking teaches you, or it builds your attitude and aptitude to to approach a problem, to understand a problem, firstly, whether that problem is the correct problem or not. How
Okay.
the problem is interacting with the environment. I can give many examples. The first step of solving any issue is to first know whether the stated problem is the correct problem or not. In any system, any present given system, there is no tool which teaches you, or there is a system which actually investigates into the problem. Many times we end up solving the wrong problem, hence we don't get a solution. That's why it happens. In most of us have action-oriented mindset. Based on our previous experiences, we have natural biases. The moment we see an issue or a problem, because of our previous biases and experience, the mind immediately tells you, okay, this is the problem. It relates to that thing. This is the solution.
We kind of stereotype और
You're situating
go through
the
a filter
problem.
कि अच्छा ये पहले भी हुआ हुआ है, ये मैंने देखा है, लास्ट
Correct.
टाइम ऐसे टैकल करा था, this is what I need to do this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, in a problem, the problem is given to you by somebody.
Yeah.
If you're an external player, your problem is given to you by somebody. You don't question the problem. You straight away dive in solving the problem. So you don't even investigate whether that problem is correct problem or not. It is more or less an hierarchical top-down approach when we approach it, when we plan any area. So it's always a top-down approach. Whereas design thinking does exactly the opposite thing.
Bottom up.
It's a bottoms-up approach. It first understands how an issue is interacting with the various stakeholders. So it has got 5 steps. But those 5 steps are not sequential. Though they look sequential, they are in the sequence. But then you have to keep looping inside those steps.
Not necessarily in the same order. Any one can be the first or the
No,
last.
they follow the sequence, but then
Okay.
for each next step, you have to probably refer number of times to the previous steps. I will
Okay.
explain.
Okay.
So design thinking is basically, put in one word, it empathizes with the stakeholders who are facing the problem. That's the first step, is the empathy. Empathy is, if you take the literal meaning of that empathy, is basically what? To see the problem by walking in your shoes.
Yeah.
Okay. It is not that अच्छा तुम्हारे पैर में चोट लगा है, अरे यार बहुत अच्छा, sorry, I mean, okay, क्या problem. Second is you wear the same plaster, you feel the same pain, walk the same way, then understand his problem.
Yeah.
The approach to it will be totally different. Okay. So I give a lot of military examples in this thing, how design thinking helps in understanding problem, because army is a lot hierarchical. An operation planning is given, from the time task is given, we jump into the process system of how to achieve the task by the problem. Okay.
Yeah.
So we plan an operation. So I was advocating in the sense that I took certain classes, and in which I was telling these guys, instead of planning an operation, why can't we design a problem? I mean, design an operation rather than planning an operation. It is similarly applicable in the business world also. Okay. So there are 5 steps in this. Okay. The first step is empathy. Once you're given a problem, and you have to first stop your mind from using your biases and assumptions to jump to a conclusion. You get into a learner's mode first, and you first understand the people whom it is affecting. So then the empathy means basically you empathize with the people who are suffering. So you gather a lot of data by questioning how they feel, how they see the thing. Because many a times when a person is actually having a problem for a very long time, it becomes a natural thing for him. He doesn't understand that that's his problem.
Yeah.
That is a problem at all. Because he's got habituated with it. See, he thinks that is the way it is.
Sometimes how we also talk about, trauma response and how somebody just does it, thinks it becomes a behavior.
Correct.
Yeah.
So they cannot come out of it. So say, कुएं का मेंढक वाली कहानी है. He doesn't understand how it relates to the outer world. So only a person who's coming from outside, who investigates into that area, he then understands that this guy doesn't even know what is the problem. He doesn't even know that there is a problem actually. Okay. Hence that empathy thing is very important. So you start with empathy.
Okay.
Okay. Then it comes define. So once you've gathered all the data, Then you try to
Define what the
define what is the issue.
Identify it. basically.
Identify it.
Yeah.
So you create a number of problem statements.
Hmm.
Okay. So first you gather the data, then you're defining that, filtering them. Thereafter, whatever the problem statements you're trying to make, then you ideate on that.
Brainstorm basically. And what
So
all
there are
can be
many
done.
process, you can use anything.
Yeah.
Okay. So you come up with vast number of ideas. Let your mind go, no criticism whatsoever. So in between there are thing called divergent convergent thinking.
Yeah.
So divergent is bring everything on board, whatever maverick ideas you are getting, keep writing them
And
down.
convergent
No
is
criticism.
bring all of it together and kind
And
of
then converging
combine
is
all of it
thereafter.
into-
Now you keep relating when you're rejecting whether this idea is actually solving the problem or not. Step
Yeah.
1, empathy.
Yeah.
Okay, keep checking, then get converging. Okay. So once you are actually, then you will see you have defined the problem ideation may, you have further narrowed down the definition to certain probable, solutions, in which you use a lot of creativity and innovation to come up with a different kind of problem. Then come fourth step is the prototyping.
Yeah.
So now, whatever is the big problem that you had, you create small prototype solutions to it. Okay. Very interesting thing. So if it's an equipment thing, then you use the modern technology, 3D mapping and things like that, and then you loop back again. Is it solving the problem? Is it addressing the problem? Okay.
There's
If
like a
not,
small sample size.
correct, small sample size. So keep going front back,
Yeah.
and the prototype you keep doing that thing. Once you come down to a couple of prototypes, once you finally there is matching their requirement, it is answering them, then you come to the testing part.
Yeah.
Testing becomes the most important thing, where all stakeholders are ideally, they form part of that testing thing, so that if there is anything which is going wrong, immediately we go back into again the empathy stage, the first stage, the definition stage and everything, and come to that. Once the testing fits, you got a solution. So this is
But
design.
Throughout this entire process, when you're talking about the design thinking and the 5 steps that you talked about, right? Throughout the entire process, और जैसे आपने पहले बोला ना कि आप आर्मी में लगातार ये कर ही रहे थे, you had not identified that, इसको design thinking बोलते हैं ना.
May not be in
then-
the same steps.
It may not be the same step, so like you said ideation, I said brainstorming.
Yeah, correct.
Potato,
Yeah,
doesn't make
yeah,
a difference,
yeah,
right?
actually.
So I was just looking at that and thinking, यार ये तो applies to a family, applies to a parent and child
Exactly,
equation, applies
exactly.
to an organization.
That's the beauty of
Because
design
when
thinking.
you're saying कि just before the testing part, right? You said
Prototyping.
prototype. So prototype को I'm thinking अच्छा sample size. When you launch a product, you
Yeah.
try it on let's say 10 people or 15 people.
Yeah.
या हम लोग जैसे और ज़्यादा छोटा और simplify कर दो इसको personal उसमें. तो बहुत बार क्या होता है कि हम लोग let's say I'm facing an issue in my office. Let's create a situation like that. For example, that I'm facing a situation with let's say a group of people in my office. तो मैं क्या करूँगा पहले वो होता है ना कि यार 1-2 लोगों से पूछ लेते हैं.
Correct.
तो हम लगातार कर तो वही रहे हैं, but
Yeah.
we haven't identified it.
Correct.
On one hand, that okay, one, we are doing all of it already, and second, the process, because many times we think of an idea कि यार मेरे सबसे ना ये बनता है रास्ता, चल 2 लोगों से पूछ लेता हूँ. I will not, maybe I've skipped the first step कि मैंने
Correct.
empathize नहीं करा.
Yeah.
I haven't put myself in those shoes.
Yeah.
Like you said कि किसी का प्लास्टर है तो प्लास्टर पहन के चल के देखो ना, पता चलेगा.
Correct. Correct.
It's very easy to sit and say in theory कि अरे यार इंडिया is accessible, या बाहर निकलो, मतलब मोटिवेट करना, और being on a wheelchair yourself and thinking कि नहीं है यार possible.
Yeah.
Unless you are yourself in those shoes, you won't realize it.
Absolutely.
तो मैं वहाँ से रिलेट कर रहा हूँ, like यार ये तो हर मतलब it applies to everyone.
Every aspect of your life you can apply it. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it, and it's an amazing tool. I have applied it after study. I mean, I studied quite some time back. I mean, after doing the course, and one of the examples I will give you, a very small example, and how when I say that when you become too deep into the problem, you don't identify the problem.
Yeah.
So there was this. I was commandant of Army Airborne Training School. Okay, AATS. Basically, that school is responsible for parachute training. Of the people come from various places, and they, we manage the parachutes, we manage the paratroopers, and things like that. So we had a parachute at that time, which was a foreign origin.
Yeah.
Okay, and the parachutes, it's a soft bag,
Yeah.
and it has got lots of knots, ties, things.
Yes, yes.
So there was a loop, a small loop, a threaded loop that had finished.
Okay.
Okay, and it's an ex-import parachute. The loop finished, so the jump stopped. So I had taken over that thing. I said, okay, let's send this loop to ADRD, that is Aerial Delivery Research and Development Establishment under DRDO. So get us a replica made. So DRDO is all scientists, engineers. They saw the thing. They went into the molecular structure of that, each rayons, each thread. This is, my goodness, this thread is not available in India, hence we can't reproduce it. Can't produce it. The matter finished. Sorry, we can't make it. This loop. They never even asked that what does this loop do. Then I got the report. Okay, the report came. Sorry, this thread is not available in India. It cannot be made. So when we gave them the problem, we sent the parachute. Okay, this is the parachute. This is the loop that we need, and all those things. So that's happened. So what did we do? Design thinking. We approached every stakeholder, right from the one who packs the parachute. Those are the main stakeholders. Okay, we went there. I said, what does this loop do? Let's talk from there.
Yeah.
So we got the PGIs, the parajump instructors, the paratroopers, and the packers, primarily the packers. We have sat down, we had a meeting, we understood everybody's points and all. Then we realized that why this particular thread, it's a threaded loop, is because it has to hold two ends and it has to bend 90 degrees. It has to be soft enough where a steel pin, despite being on the shelf for a long time in moisture, even if the pin gets corroded, the pin should be able to slip out. It should not break. That's one thing. So we got a whole lot of data. Then we send it back, that loop again back to ADRD. It says, give us the braking strength. So they gave us the braking strength. So we understood that it should not break. So we calculate the dia and everything. And guess what? What we realized was, it basically requires a synthetic smooth a ring of a particular dimension which should not break. Okay. I mean, up to that way. What do we do? So I caught hold of our tailor master. So parachute, we have these rigging lines, small, so synthetic, they're very strong. We saw that the dia of that thing is almost similar to the dia of this loop. Okay. So they asked the tailor master, can you create these loops with this thread? Well, हाँ साहब, ये हो जाएगा. So he stitched it. Okay, we created the same dimension. We created a whole lot of them. We gave it to the PGIs. First, we gave a couple of parachutes we identified. We packed those parachutes with the ones which has been created by us. We fitted that. Then we sent it for trials. Prototyping and then testing. Okay. Because when we were packing, it packed very well. So it was matching the requirement of the parapackers. It was meeting everything. Then we put to trial. So we do dummy drops. We dropped dummy. It functioned very well. Then PGIs themselves jumped with that. They opened the parachute. It functioned very well. Okay. We solved the problem. So the problem lies, that is how I say understanding thing. Sometimes when you have too much of knowledge of a particular thing, you take such a deep dive into it that you forget about how to understand the problem in a correct manner. Is that the problem? Is that the thread or the rayon or the molecular structure is the problem? Or the problem is creating a loop which serves a particular requirement? It may not be that loop. It can be any loop. Okay, that is why the external thing is required. So there are many such small examples which I used in the army to solve many problems. In that. And I really swear by this thing because I have used it and I find it very, very useful.
कितना ज़्यादा apply करते हैं ना design thinking in the daily life, and it's beautiful because I feel that a lot of us are doing these things.
Correct.
But we are not really identifying that अरे यार ऐसे करना है. And सबसे ज़्यादा खूबसूरत बात जो मुझे लगी is that when you are down into the problem, you sometimes don't realize that you're so much into it that
Exactly.
You're just
बीच में तुम bird's eye view लेने के लिए
हाँ
you have to get out of that
Yeah.
and take a bird's eye view and see जो issue है, how it is interacting with the environment. Then it will give you a better perspective about the issue.
yeah
But if you take a deep dive into the problem, okay, it can solve some, but it will not be able to solve it entirely because you lose the connections which is meant to solve.
if I may, when I'm thinking about this and I'm thinking about every time I have, and whoever is listening to the podcast can maybe think about this from their perspective. But मैंने जितनी बार भी कोई problem face करा life में and now that I know about these 5 steps in design thinking and how it can change perspective and give me a new perspective over things. I think the very first question, even before, and I'm not trying to challenge whatever you're doing, I think the very first question that we must ask ourselves, मुझे लगता है जो मैं खुद के लिए करना चाहता हूँ अब, is even before I get to the 5 steps of empathy, going into the empathy mode and then identifying a problem and looking at
Define, ideate.
yes, looking at the steps and finding a solution. I think the very first step is that behavior analysis, that am I being proactive or am I being reactive? Because I think हम बहुत बार reactive है ना, because हमें इतना ज़्यादा घुस चुके हैं उस प्रॉब्लम में कि हम लोग as you said ना कि वो पुराने जो filters हैं, experiences हैं, उससे अगर हम operate कर रहे हैं, and
Correct.
when I think
your
about
biases and your
yes,
experiences.
so it's more of a reaction, no? Like we hear so many parents talking, और हमारे घरों में मेरे डैड ने मुझे बोला है, बहुत सारे पेरेंट्स बोलते हैं यार मेरे बचपन में ही मेरे साथ हुआ था, मैं नहीं चाहता तुम्हारे साथ हो. And many times they're also, while they are saying that in a positive way, that okay, I faced this challenge, I don't want you to face this challenge.
Yeah.
Sometimes it also happens कि my parents dealt with it this way, so this is how even I will deal with it.
Yeah.
It's could be the same filter.
वो same thing ना, आपका पुराना, what is your experience is telling you.
हाँ.
What's your biases? You are already mentally biased towards that. Okay. So the first step that the design thinking actually teaches you is builds your aptitude and attitude. That is the thing which happens. Once you have learned about it, you will prevent your... The moment you see a problem and automatically brain is telling you something, you will take a check. You will check yourself and then you will put it through that filter. Why am I thinking like that? Is my biases and my experiences overpowering my reasoning?
Yeah.
Have I actually understood the problem in entirety?
Yeah.
Have I actually understood or empathized with the people who are suffering? Or I'm just using my experience and trying to state the problem and trying to come to a solution?
So how does the aptitude come? If there's a very short answer, you would want to give me on
aptitude
that.
is the very first thing is that how can I do this thing differently?
वहीं से आपका attitude change हो जाएगा जब आप
How can I do it?
एक अलग तरीके से देखना चाहोगे.
And basically is that, is this the correct problem? Is this the right problem? Or the problem lies somewhere else?
Yeah.
What you're seeing right in front of you. What goes behind that?
Yeah.
You need to go circumvent and go behind that and first understand all the elements which are connected with the so-called problem. You'll probably find the solution lies somewhere else. Not that.
Sir, मैंने ना in this entire conversation that has happened, and there's, I would say we've just touched the surface of your
I agree
time
with
in the forces, and obviously there are so many stories that I want again, and I hope we will have, and I'm sure we will have another
Yeah,
conversation.
now I'm retired. So
नहीं, लेकिन कहानियां तो बहुत सारी हैं,
Ah.
है ना, and this foray into design thinking and all that we can apply in our own lives.
yeah.
Right, and they say God is in details, right? Design thinking, I think, is exactly that. God is in the details.
It
right?
is
When we start
investigation
looking
into the
Your life.
everything that is which is affecting the issue, the people. End of the day, design thinking is all about the people itself.
Yeah.
See, end of the day, no matter what you do, no matter what machine you invent, whatever action you take, whatever planning you do, at the end of everything, it's a human being which is getting affected.
Yeah.
Okay. So design thinking takes into the consideration of how it actually affects that human being.
You know, somewhere I read this that the best of entrepreneurs were not thinking of profits.
Yeah, of course.
They were thinking of how many people will benefit from this solution that I'm creating.
Correct.
And I think that in itself is the very first lesson from, you know, design thinking. And
It's a human
thinking of
approach.
an-
It is human centric. One of the thing about design thinking is when you define design thinking, the very one common statement, if you read it on the internet, the first sentence it says is it's a human centric approach.
human first.
It's a human first. And even if you take it in life everywhere, like I said, that everything that is done on the earth by the human being affects another human being.
Yeah.
So if you keep that aspect in mind, all your actions, all your things that you do, how it is going to be, received or affect a human being, I think that itself will change our mindset a lot.
You know, I was going to ask you, and I'll still ask you because while there have been so many life lessons through this one podcast episode that we've just done, from the life of an armed forces guy to the retired life now, where you're a veteran and you are now helping people work with design thinking, and you just talked about how human first in itself is one of the great. I think it's the greatest of ideologies to live by. ह्यूमन फर्स्ट वाला थॉट हो तो शायद मिलिटेंसी भी ना हो. Human
नहीं,
first
वहां पर
वाला-
भी human first is most important thing.
अच्छा.
In anti-insurgency operations, counter-insurgency operations, there is a thing which is said as winning hearts and minds of people.
Okay.
Though it is classically coined by the Americans because they were very good in, writing the catch lines.
हाँ.
What is insurgency and militancy? After all, they are also human being,
Yeah.
right? It starts from the population. Right? Aggrieved, something happened, they find a leadership, common cause, and out of which they come out of that. Okay. So they are supported for everything they do. They need the support of the human beings. If you win over that human being below that base, you've cut the bases. You have isolated him. The moment you isolated him, it's much easier to deal with him. My approach all throughout in counter-insurgency, wherever I have operated, is first make friends with the population. Win over the population. I always used to do that. And that has been my thumb rule all throughout, and I lived by it. And that helped me tremendously. And that is how the information comes. When you win over the people, they will talk to you.
Yeah.
If you're not won over the people, they will never talk to you. If the people don't talk to you, where will you get your intelligence?
Yeah.
The step one
Is
to
build
divide
trust.
a wedge between the population and the militants and to remove them is got to win over the population by doing good, genuine things. It has to come through you. You cannot play act that.
You can't
You
be
cannot.
manipulative
No, you
about
cannot. It has to be genuine feeling for them, and the people understands. People understand ki yes, this guy is doing this for this purpose.
it. Yeah.
If you have achieved that, till date, I've left the army. I mean, I left Valley quite some time back, and then I was in other things, and also I got so many friends in the Valley, including few surrendered militants who, we managed to bring them back in the mainstream. They are my dearest of friends. They risk their lives in many times to walk with me. Okay, and that friendship still continues. I've gone to Valley number of times after that on my own. I meet them. We have one of the biggest bond that happens is when you have actually gone through tremendous high risk, life risk together. The bond, that is why the bonding between the army friends and all is that it comes out of that. That when you risk your life together, nothing can beat that. So with these guys who were militants and then surrendered, and we won them over and changed their thing, and they supported us. I've done many high risk operations all alone with just another guy because nobody else can come, and otherwise the secret will lose. I have actually walked with them. I've gone into operations, gone into villages at night with just the other guy, and he was a released militant earlier. So the trust, unless you can win over them, and I would say that is one of the most and critical thing to do is to win over the population.
इंसान को इंसान के लिए देख ले तो इंसानियत जिंदा रहेगी.
Exactly. Respect for women, And it's a joke now. I will see I will just tell you the lighter side of it. Kashmiris are very beautiful, very, very beautiful. I was a young officer. Okay. I used to say that, later on to my wife also. I said, every fourth girl or third girl that crosses you, it's a potential Miss Universe
Yeah.
in Kashmir.
Huh.
Now just imagine to keep a straight face and look straight and walk through the streets so that the men around you should not find an excuse. Okay, this guy has got a flaw in character.
Yeah.
And you know what? This is noticed by the civilians.
Yeah.
This is noticed by the civilians. The respect for the elders, that are the women folk, and young children. Young kids, they find at a particular place, and they also get fascinated by the army weapons and all. Buy them an ice cream, chat with them, play a little bit of cricket with them, kick a football with them. You won them over. That's all that is required. It's just a good smile.
Yeah.
One smiling face, one just greet.
One
me.
very genuine human gesture makes the difference.
And the smile has to be genuine. And you should feel for it. I feel for it. I never ever slapped a civilian ever. I just stood absolutely against dealing with any civilian harshly. I never will tolerate anybody doing it. And that's how we are creating militants then. And I have fantastic friends. I used to call Shupiyan my second home. And I used to joke with so once there was a challenge from the release militants कि साहब बाकी तो टाइम पे तो आप अपने सारे दोस्तों के साथ घूमते आप ट्रूप्स के साथ जाते हो कभी हमारे साथ चल के दिखाओ बिना हथियार का आई इमीडिएटली केप्ट माय वेपन बैक ऐसे चल कहाँ चलना है मुझे तुम लोगों के ऊपर बहुत भरोसा है I walked out. We walked about 2 kilometers and then these guys only brought me back. He says, साहब आपने बहुत दिखा दिया, अब वापस चलो. So though there was a clear understanding that they will never take the risk of actually, doing this, but they were also not very sure if the militant actually, militant, if they are hiding and trying to do something.
Yeah.
So I always believed in this, that the human being first, be a good human, win over the humans with your and good behavior, good attitude, positivity, a good smile, a genuine smile. It goes a long way to solve any problem under the earth. Any problem. I am a great believer of human-to-human relations. Because I said that I always find that at the end of the day, whatever you do, it affects a human being.
Yeah. एक ना शायर रहे हैं निदा फाजली साहब. I don't know if you heard about him. If you've read about him. Mary Joan, one of his favorite works. वो कहते हैं कि he's talking about this India-Pakistan relation, right? So he says that इंसान में हैवान यहाँ भी है वहाँ भी, अल्लाह ने कहबान यहाँ भी है वहाँ भी.
Correct.
हिंदू भी मज़े में है, मुसलमान भी मज़े में है, इंसान परेशान यहाँ भी है वहाँ भी. So the moment we take out these things,
Yeah.
I think life just becomes easier.
Much. That's the fact.
Yeah.
That's the fact of life. If you, I should, in the podcast, whether it's appropriate to make a comment like this or not, the bloody whole problem is on religion. The concept of religion. It started probably in a different concept key, to bring diverse people, illiterate people who didn't know, to follow certain things, a norm, which that's how the society is built. Okay. But it's outlived its utility. The whole division is because of this religion business. It's a business. God is a business.
Yeah.
We have turned it into a spiritualism through that into. That's my point of view.
इस पे करेंगे फिर से बात जरूर. I would love to do. I actually have a lump in my throat right now. So thank you so much. Thank you for giving me time and thank you for doing this with me.
Thank you. I think that
Brilliant. It was such a beautiful conversation.
I loved it, every moment of it.
I don't know. Just thank you.
I wish somebody does a podcast of you. I want your life lessons, your approach to life, your stories.
मैं इकट्ठे कर रहा हूँ ना ये तो through the podcast आप सबसे सीख रहा हूँ.
Somebody needs to do that. You have tremendous things that you have done. Your life lessons are a story in itself.
I'm yet to put that down into a list. I don't know if I'm yet.
You should. You
I'm
should.
there yet.
Yeah.
But yeah,
You should.
someday
I mean,
soon.
before the memory starts,
उसके लिए है 30 साल अभी.
30 साल.
So thank you so much for joining
No,
me.
my pleasure. I mean, thank you for
Absolute
giving me the
honor
opportunity.
to have you on the show, and definitely we'll have another conversation.
Yeah, we'll look forward to it. I loved
Thank you
it.
so
I've
much.
loved every moment.
And thank you all for tuning in, for listening. This is me, Mohit Ahuja, signing off. Insignificance. बहुत छोटी चीज़ है ना अपने अंदर के इंसान को जिंदा रखना और सामने वाले के अंदर के सिर्फ इंसान को देखना. वो लेबल्स हटा दो. जस्ट लुक एट एनीबडी फॉर द ह्यूमन दे आर एंड लाइफ बिकम्स ईजियर. तो जब इंसान से इंसान का कनेक्ट हो जाएगा ना तो इंसानियत जिंदा रहेगी. उस इंसानियत को जिंदा रखते हैं. दैट्स अ रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी आई थिंक ऑल ऑफ अस इक्वली शेयर. बहुत जल्दी फिर से मुलाकात होगी आपसे. ख्याल रखिए खुद का, अपने आसपास के इंसानों का और अपने अंदर के इंसान का. मेरा नाम है मोहित आहूजा और इस शो का नाम है इनसिग्निफिकेंस. बहुत जल्दी फिर से मिलेंगे. सी यू.
Insignificance with Mohit Ahuja.